Shalom, fam. It's Yomore, Jaden Israel. Welcome to Real Talk Tuesday. Live stream is going up on a Tuesday. Hey, what it do? What's good, family? I like to say shalom, shalom to everybody. Tonight, we have an exclusive live stream that's about to take place. The title of today's live: Eldad the Danite. Israelites are in Africa. Evidence examined. That's right, family. We're going to look into the evidence. We're going to look into Eldad HaDani, Eldad the Danite. But before we do, let me go ahead and make sure we are okay on YouTube Studio. It says we are live, excellent condition. All glory to Yah. Now, before we get started with tonight's lesson, I got some surprises for you. Check it. All you got to do is go below this video. When you go below the video, click where it says more. Click on the description to unlock those surprises. For example, on screen, just go below the video, family. Eldad the Danite is the video we're watching right now. You want to go ahead and click on that video. Well, you already clicked on that video. You're watching the video. See if y'all listening now. I got to click on the video so I can walk you through it. Now, when you go below the description, like this. One second, family. Yes, like this. Here we go. Click on more right there. Free goodies, your favorite four-letter F word. You know that's right. 30 words in Paleo Hebrew, Biblical Hebrew, and English. Video tutorial and free PDF download. I made these video tutorials and I made these free PDF downloads. The Lord's Prayer in Hebrew and English. Video tutorial and free PDF download. The Ten Commandments in Hebrew and English. Video, PDF. The Shema prayer in Hebrew and English. Video, PDF. The priestly blessing in Hebrew and English. The Benediction. You guessed it. Video and PDF. Want to go deeper? Want to start learning Hebrew? Hebrew Mastery Bundle recommended is 2 courses put together in one. You get a discount, and by the end of this bundle, you will learn how to read, speak, understand, and write Hebrew. All Hebrew courses right here. We have courses for children and adults. We also have Gematria. As a former Sunday school teacher and licensed minister in Christianity, it's my pleasure to teach Hebrew. Want to earn side income? Key is earn. You earn side income, or when you are ready, when the time is right, you can replace your 9-to-5. No gimmicks, no free lunches. You learn a skill, family. Trading mastery course. My wife and I, we are stock market investors. Cavode Apparel, faith-inspired wear. If you like to wear kingdom apparel, clothing that represents Yah, such as this shirt that I got right here, and a plethora of other clothing for women, men, and children, go ahead and click on that link. Support the ministry. Patreon. Unlock exclusive content that you cannot get on YouTube, behind-the-scenes footage, bloopers, advanced biblical teachings, and advanced biblical tools. Cash App, PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, and the YouTube Super Chat. Fam, we are monetized. We don't need the money, but my wife and I, we appreciate the donations. All glory to Yah. Now, for our schedule, go below the super cool, awesome banner that I designed. You got Frisco to the right, the Kingdom to the left. You got Frisco to the left, Kingdom to the right. Those places can't be more opposite. Schedule. The Shabbat word. Sabbath service. Fridays at 7 p.m. Pacific time. It includes prayer, preaching, and praise music. Motivation Monday, Mondays at 10 o'clock a.m. Pacific time. Real Talk Tuesday, that's tonight. Tuesdays, 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. Once again, the links, trading course, Hebrew Mastery Bundle, Hebrew courses, Patreon, Etsy, Cash App, PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, TikTok, IG, Meta, Jaden and Jazz. That's my wife and I's channel. We speak about Black love, trendy topics, celebrity news. As the children of Yah, we are balanced. That's what we strive to be, family. We're not religious. We're not bummaklats. Now, my email's right here. You got to verify that you are not AI, not to be confused with Allen Iverson. Those are the announcements. Now, at this time, we are going to get into the lesson. Eldad the Danite. Israelites are in Africa. Evidence examined. Are you familiar with Eldad the Danite? You familiar, family? Have you heard that name before? Tonight, we are going to look into Eldad HaDani, Eldad the Danite. That's a picture of him. Trust me. Designed by ChatGPT. Eldad the Danite. Israelites are in Africa. Evidence examined. Make sure, family, you like, you share, you subscribe, all the good stuff, family. If you are interested in this content, if you love Yah, like the video. At this time, family, we are going to read our first source from Babylon to Timbuktu, Eldad the Danite. We're going to read the Eldad the Danite section. This is from Babylon to Timbuktu, which is a very popular book amongst the Israelite community. That book changed my life. Shout out to the legend, Rudolph R. Windsor. I encourage everybody to purchase that book, not just Israelites, but everybody. Now we're going to read the section of Eldad HaDani. If you have the book, you can pull out the book, or you can follow on screen with me. Eldad the Danite is on page 92. Page 92. If you have from Babylon to Timbuktu, turn to page 92. Hallelujah. Almost there, family. I have it behind screen. I'm just getting to the page. I don't want to scroll your eyes. I don't want to make you cry. I don't want to make your eyes watery. It makes my eyes watery when I do that, when I scroll fast on the computer screen. That might be a sign that I need glasses, but I'm still in denial. I'm still not wearing any. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Let's go. Let me blow it up a little bit. Let's go to right here. There we go. That's nice. Nice. Eldad the Danite. This is from Babylon to Timbuktu. Hallelujah. In the 9th century, a black African Hebrew arrived in the city of Caronan, good enough for me, good enough for ghetto, in Algeria. in this city was one of the famous Talmudic schools. That's right, the T word, Talmudic, Talmudic schools. Israelites, don't get mad. The name of this Hebrew was Eldad the Danite. He told a credible story of a Hebrew empire south of the Sahara in the western Sudan. If you know me by now, you know what time it is. Hebrew highlighted time. Y'all see that? Write it down, take a picture, screenshot it. Do what you got to do. Eldad the Danite, he told a credible story of a Hebrew empire south of the Sahara in the western Sudan. According to Eldad the Danite, the Hebrews in the interior of Africa spoke a Phoenician Hebraic language mixed with Arabic. These languages have similarities. They are Shemitic. That's fascinating. I said it's fascinating. That is fascinating. Family, that's fascinating. Check it. In the interior, Hebrews in the interior of Africa spoke a Phoenician Hebraic language mixed with Arabic. Wow. They had a religion which had come down from Moses and a Hebrew empire. You know what time it is? We're taking our time. We're taking our time. We're taking our time. It was believed that this empire was named Talantan or Balulatan. Eldad said that the people of this tribe had fled from the kingdom of Israel after Sennacherib, the Assyrian, had subdued it, and that other Israelite tribes, such as Naphtali, Gad, and Asher, were in the land from which he came. Wow. Do you see that, family? Are we looking at the same thing? Eldad HaDani said, what? He said that the people of this tribe had fled from the kingdom of Israel after Sennacherib, the Assyrian, had subdued it, and that the other Israelite tribes, such as Naphtali, Gad, and Asher, were in the land from which he came. He told of the laws of Moses, which they followed. The complete series of the scriptures, except Esther and Lamentations. He did not speak of the legal works that were produced in Babylon and Palestine after the destruction of the first temple, of which the Algerian Jews had a knowledge. These extraordinary works were the Mishnah and the Talmud. In other words, the Israelites that lived south of the Sahara in the western Sudan, these Israelites that lived in the interior of Africa, which includes a plethora of northern tribes, they had the Old Testament. They had almost the complete Old Testament. They did not have the book of Esther, and they did not have the book of Lamentations, which makes sense. it makes sense. For they were kicked out of the land by the they were kicked out of the land by the Assyrian Empire. So how would they have knowledge of the book of Esther? So for me, I see it that this is plausible. I see the connection here, that the Israelites that Eldad HaDani is speaking about, that live in the interior of Africa, they basically had the complete version of the Old Testament, except for Esther and Lamentations. And they also did not speak a pure Hebrew, which to me makes sense. Through migration, through years, through time and migration and assimilation, acculturation. I'm throwing up big words. Let me go ahead and slow it down. Let me slow down the tempo. Due to time and migration and living amongst other tribes of people, other groups of people, you're going to experience mixture. You're going to experience changes within the language. So it makes sense that they were not speaking a pure Hebrew. It was a mixture of Phoenician, Hebraic language, which that makes sense, family. Phoenician is another term for Canaanite. A Canaanite, aka Phoenician, Hebrew language mixed with Arabic. For Israel is in the land of what? Canaan. Before the land was called Israel, it was called Canaan. Before it was known as Israel, before the land was known as Israel, it was known as Canaan. And when you look linguistically, when you look at the letters of Phoenician and Paleo Hebrew, they're similar. They're a similar family. And also Arabic being a sister language of Hebrew, it makes sense due to time, migration, and living amongst other groups. You're going to get some changes within the language. So it makes sense that we're not speaking a pure Hebrew. Now, they kept the laws of Moses. They had the Tanakh, which is the Torah, the first 5 books, the Nevi'im, which is the prophets, the Ketuvim, which is the writings, except for Esther and Lamentations. And also they didn't have the Talmud, which also makes sense because when the Talmud was compiled, they were already kicked out of the land. Now let's continue. Let's go. Eldad displayed as evidence some ceremony pertaining to the slaughtering of animals for food. It was written in Hebrew with an Arabic tinge, but Eldad claimed that he knew no other language than Hebrew. In regard to Eldad's story, the Gaon, head of the Yehudim, head of the Jews, assured the people that the story was false. Okay, let me read that again. That the story was fake. Okay, stop playing, Jayden. That the story was credible. The Gaon, the head of the Jews, assured the people that Eldad the Danite's story about Israelites living in the interior of Africa, living south of the Sahara, living in Western Sudan, keeping the laws of Moses, having basically almost the complete version of the Old Testament. The Gaon assured that the people of the story, the Gaon, the head of the Jews, assured the people that the story was credible. He's saying it was credible, aka you got a witness. Let's go, fam. We are grateful for the travels and researches of Nahum Schloss, who wrote in the early part of the 20th century. He said, for many years, the author of this book has been gathering material for a history of the Jewish migrations into the Sahara and the Sudan. One part of his work is already done: the establishing of the authenticity of these migrations to the writing of the Arabs and the oral traditions of the country. He can now add the archaeological evidence furnished by the ruins of ancient Jewish cities in the Sahara and the Sudan, and the documentary evidence of Hebrew inscriptions like those of, I'm not sure what that say, family. I'm having a hard time. Let me zoom out. See fucking what that say. I'm not sure what that says, but I'm gonna go ahead and say that part. That part. The documentary evidence of Hebrew inscriptions like those of that part, which date from the 13th and 14th centuries. Wow. I'm gonna highlight this whole section. He can now add the archaeological evidence furnished by the ruins of ancient Jewish cities in the Sahara and the Sudan, and the documentary evidence of Hebrew inscriptions. So you have multiple sources of evidence. You have multiple witnesses that support Israelites living in the interior of Africa, living in the Sudan, in the Western Sudan, living in Africa, deeper into Africa. Wow. One second, family. One sec. All right, let's continue. Eldad HaDani, Eldad the Danite. Israelites are in Africa. Evidence examined. Like those of that part, which date from the 13th and 14th centuries. Check it. It is now an established fact that Ghana was a black Hebrew state, and at this juncture, I shall continue my writings concerning the Za dynasty of Ghana. Ghana was a black Hebrew state known as Za dynasty of Ghana. The 15th Za prince took control of the great city of Gao on the upper Niger, AD 1009. His name was Za Kasi or Kosoi. Up to this time, all the kings of Ghana professed the Hebrew religion. However, in this year, a radical transformation occurred. Za Kasi accepted Islam. Davison, quoting the Tariq el-Fitash, says that the king of Songhai, Ghana, was persuaded to convert to Islam by the merchants of the city of Gal, which already had become wealthy and economically powerful. Much of Ghana's trade was maintained with the Muslims of the north. The North Africans were ardent Mohammedans in their day, and economics and religion were co-partners, operating concertly in the city of Gal. I do not condemn Zakasi for his conversion to Islam. In fact, it shall justify his actions. The Muslims were dominating Ghana's vital trade links in North Africa and the Sahara, and it was good for Ghana's security to be recognized as having a Mohammedan king. It was best for business. In other words, it was best for business. In other words, it was best for business and for politics. Concerning Islam in the Western Sudan, Basil Davidson makes the following observation. Islam reaches the markets of the Western Sudan by at least the 9th century, but it makes little initial impact. The rulers of Ghana do not accept Islam as one of their state religions. Only at the beginning of the 11th century, which is in the early 1000s, are there a few such conversions, the earliest of any importance of which we know being that of the king of Gal, traditionally in 1010, followed by that of the king of Kanem Mordino in 1086. Davidson says, these are tactical conversions. These kings are Muslims only in name, motivated as much by commercial convenience as by appreciation of the political and religion's achievements and teaching of Islam. In spite of the fact that the kings of Ghana professed Islam, many of the inhabitants remain Jews. Hebrew highlighter. We're going to highlight that. In spite of the fact that the kings of Ghana professed Islam, many of the inhabitants remain Jews. El-Bekri, the Muslim writer, wrote about Ghana in 1067. The king of Ghana in his day was Tekemenin, who came to the throne AD 1062. El-Bekri said that the king of Ghana, I'm not sure how you say that, family, Ayin Kamenin, was the ruler of a great empire, and he was able to organize an army of 200,000 men. In the 11th century, a Mohammedan people from the northwest invaded the city of Adagast within the empire of Ghana. These invaders were called the Almoravids. The Almoravids. The Almoravids. We're going to highlight that. The Almoravids. By the year 1076 AD, Abu Bakr, the leader of the Almoravids, captured the city of Ghana. However, the Islamic Jewish king was allowed to maintain his throne. Tekemenin paid tribute to Abu Bakr. At this time, Gal or Galho, the city of Ghana, was separated into two cities. The first one was the residence of the king. This city contained a fortress, which was surrounded by a wall. The second city contained 12 mosques in which the Mohammedan merchants could settle or wait until they transacted their business. This description given by El-Bekri leaves us with the impression that the city of the king's residence was probably inhabited mainly by Jews, because there was a great distinction between the king's residence and the residence of the Mohammedans. In the city of Gal, the Islamic religion was influential. Only a Muslim could be king. When a new king ascended the throne, 3 royal imperial emblems constituting the Quran, a sword, and a ring were received by the king. Ahmed Baba, a native of Sungai, dates the beginning of Islam in Ghana after the year 1010. So family, we are seeing multiple witnesses of the conversion of Ghana accepting Islam around this time. We've seen 1010, we've seen 1009. We're getting multiple witnesses that Ghana converted to Islam. We got multiple witnesses that Ghana converted to Islam from, if we want to say Judaism, I mean, we can say that word loosely, from the Jewish religion, we'll say that, around this time, around the beginning of the 11th century, the early 1000s. El-Bekri designates that then reigning king as Kanda. Barth says that he is the most probably identical with the Islamic Jewish king Za Bayuk. Baryarkoi Kalma. Thank you, family, for listening to me struggle through reading these names. Thank you. I'm definitely putting myself on the spot. I'm trying. I know I'm butchering these names, but it's not on purpose. I promise you. Of Ahmed Baba, the third succeeding king of Za Kasi. And that concludes the section of Eldad HaDani. The next section is the empire of Mali. We're going to go ahead and land here on from Babylon and Timbuktu, but also I like to highlight that the word Ghana is a Shemitic term. It is connected to Hebrew. The word Ghana is a Hebraic word. Right here, Ghana. It is now an established fact that Ghana was a black Hebrew state. And at this juncture, I shall continue my writings concerning the Za dynasty. Ghana, in Hebrew, it's similar. It's connected to the word Ganan, which means to protect. Ganan means to protect. Also, the word Gan in Hebrew means garden. And I'm going to show and prove that here momentarily. But before 1009, 1010, the Ghana Empire was ruled by Hebrew kings. It was a Hebrew state. As it says, up to this time, all the kings of Ghana professed the Hebrew religion. So after this time, that's when it became Islamic. It became an Islamic state after 1009, 1010, around that that time, family, as we saw multiple witnesses. I encourage you to purchase this book from Babylon and Timbuktu. This book right here, family, will change your life. If you don't have the book already, it definitely will. It will increase your studies. It will bless your studies. It has changed my life. Now, I also like to give some edification on that term, Western Sudan. We see that term used multiple times. It's used here by Eldad the Danite, Eldad HaDani, if you want to flex. Ha meaning the, Dani meaning Danite. He told a credible story of a Hebrew empire south of the Sahara and the Western Sudan. And this was in the 9th century, in the 800s, in the late 800s. So during this time, you had the Hebrew states of Ghana. You had the Zah dynasty ruling in Ghana during the time of Eldad HaDani. I'm connecting the dots, family. I'm putting the map together. The Zah dynasty existed during the lifetime of Eldad HaDani. Now, we're going to get some clarification on that term, Western Sudan. He told a credible story of a Hebrew empire south of the Sahara and the Western Sudan. Now, this right here is just a rough AI overview, which I'm just giving you just a quick overview, family. You know, I like to go in, I like to take my time and do a thorough research. But just for a quick reference, if you're wondering what Western Sudan, what is that? Where is that? Here's a reference from AI Overview. Ancient West Sudan. In the overview, this source is from Britannica, which I trust. I use Britannica all the time. You see me teach from Britannica. I'm actually looking at Britannica right now. I'm looking at the source right now. But let's go ahead. Let me show you, family. We're just going to read this AI overview. The source for this AI overview is Britannica right here. From up to this point, it's Britannica. Also, Wikipedia, which is another broad brush place to begin. If you want to do your research, you can begin with Wikipedia, but just know it's grain of salt. Britannica, it's vetted. You have scholars that are putting together this article. Britannica is scholastic. Wikipedia is open source, so it's grain of salt. But even with Britannica, you also got to consider grain of salt. But Britannica will let you know. Britannica is objective. Now, it says right here, family, from Babylon and Timbuktu, he told a credible story. Eldad HaDani told a credible story of a Hebrew empire south of the Sahara in the Western Sudan. According to Eldad the Danite, the Hebrews in the interior of Africa spoke a Phoenician, aka Canaanite, Hebraic language mixed with Arabic, which makes sense due to travel, time, and being near other nations as well. According to Eldad the Danite, The Hebrews in the interior of Africa spoke a Phoenician language mixed with Arabic. They had a religion that had come down from Moses and a Hebrew empire. It is believed that this empire was named Tautan or Balatan. Eldad said that the people of this tribe had fled from the kingdom of Israel after Sennacherib the Assyrian had subdued it, and that the other Israelite tribes, such as Naphtali, Gad, and Asher, were in the land from which he came. He told of the laws of Moses, which they followed, the complete series of the scriptures, except Esther and Lamentations. He did not speak of the legal works that were produced in Babylon and Palestine after the destruction of the first temple, in which the Algerian Jews had a knowledge. These extraordinary works were the Mishnah and Talmud. Now, the term Western Sudan. Let's get some edification. What is Western Sudan? This is AI overview, but it is also sourced from Britannica, which I trust and I use all the time. Ancient West Sudan. The ancient West Sudan was characterized by its rich history and cultural significance. The region was home to several powerful empires, including the Kingdom of Kush, Ghana, Mali, and Songhai, which controlled vast territories and exerted significant influence in the region, and exerted a significant influence in the region. These empires were known for their monumental architecture, such as the Great Mosque of Jenne and Askia the Great's tomb in Gao, and their role in the trans-Saharan trade networks. The wealth of these empires were largely derived from their control over the lucrative gold and salt trade routes. The region's strategic locations between the southern gold producing regions and Saharan salt mines made it an ideal location for trade and wealth accumulation. The ancient Western Sudan also saw the rise of Mansa Musa, which is a picture of Mansa Musa right here, family. That's Mansa Musa. This is from Expanding Webs of Exchange and Conflicts, 500 CE to 1500 CE. So that's Western Sudan, aka West Africa. Western Sudan, aka West Africa. Hallelujah. And here's just a quick, another AI overview, another quick one. Oh, whoops, I clicked out of that. Let me go back. Let's look at the Za dynasty of Ghana. Let me share my screen. Just a quick AI overview. The Za dynasty is also covered in From Babylon to Timbuktu, but just for the sake of time and just showing you something real quick, family, the Za dynasty of Ghana. The Za dynasty, also known as the Dia dynasty, ruled the Songhai kingdom from 690 to 1335 CE. Its dynasty is significant for its role in the history of the Ghana Empire, which was located in the western part of present-day Mali and southeastern Mauritania. So during this time, the reason why I'm showing this is that during this time, the Za dynasty of Ghana, Eldad HaDani lived. Eldad HaDani lived in the 9th century, which is the late 800s. He lived in the 800s. This is the 800s. Eldad HaDani lived in the 800s. He lived during the time of the Za dynasty of Ghana. The Za dynasty of Ghana is located, you guessed it, in the Western Sudan. All glory, all praises, all kavod to Yah. Now, I'm going to show another source. Before I pull up this source, give me 1 second. Page 87 speaks about the empire of Ghana from Babylon to Timbuktu. Right here, let me go ahead and show on screen. That way, if you want some more on the empire of Ghana, go ahead and check it out, family. Right here, the Black Jewish Empire of Ghana. And I like to show you this reference right here. For we got the date, the Zah dynasty of Ghana right here. Let me show you once again, family. We're just doing our research. You know how we do it. The Zah dynasty of Ghana. Eldad HaDani lived during the time of the Zah dynasty of Ghana, which is in the Western Sudan, West Africa. The Zah dynasty, also known as the Dia dynasty, ruled the Songhai kingdom from 690 to 1335 CE. But remember, around 1009, 1010, the Zah dynasty converted to Islam for economical and political reasons. Many still practice Torah, the Tanakh. They still follow the Jewish religion, quote unquote, even though they converted to Islam. Now, here's this source from Babylon and Timbuktu speaking more about the migrations. Now, it says on page 88 from Babylon and Timbuktu, these Jewish migrations went on with great frequency about 300 AD. I'm going to highlight that. These Jewish migrations went on with great frequency about 300 AD. And they continued with the utmost regularity for 1,200 years. Joseph J. Williams points out the course of the Jewish migration from northeastern Africa. Remember, Israel is located in northeastern Africa. He writes that the Jews migrated up the Nile, passing Memphis, Elephantine, Khartoum, and they turned west at Kordofan in central Sudan. Right here, Zah el Yemeni came to Kuka about 300 AD, an ancient abode of the Songhai tribe. He established a line of kings known as the Zah, Jah, or the Dia dynasty. This founder of the first Sudanic dynasty in Western Africa was a black Jew. Hebrew freaking highlighter. It's hammer time. It's highlighted time. That's right. Wow, that's amazing, family. All glory, all praises, all kavod to Yah. So we got a date from AI Overview. We'll compare the dates again. The Zah dynasty of Ghana from 690 to 1335. The Zah dynasty, also known as the Dia dynasty, ruled the Sun God Kingdom from 690 to 1335 CE. And also, we got another reference right here, fam. Zah el Yemeni came to Kuka about 300 AD, an ancient abode of the Songhai tribe. He established a line of kings known as the Jah, or the Dia dynasty. This founder of the first Sudanic dynasty in Western Africa was a black Jew. The Arabs, the Moors, and the Sudanic writers attribute to the ancient black African Hebrews the establishment of the first empires, the erection of the first public buildings in the country, the construction of the first canals and irrigation systems, and institutions of a social economic regime, which still survives in all Saharan communities. The Jews imported into the western part of Africa a superior material, educational, and moral culture soon after 300 AD. It mentions Mansa Musa here as well. And this cultural advancement was not duplicated or exceeded until the ascendancy of the Mohammedan leader Mansa Musa, Mansa Kankan Musa in Mali, 1312 AD. We getting real black history now. That's right. Wow. In the Jewish Ghanaian states were found kings, princes, governors, generals, secretaries, treasurers, revenue agents, judges, architects, engineers, doctors, historians, language interpreters, mathematicians, jewelers, sculptors, masons, carpenters, painters of art, goldsmiths, leather workers, potters, armorers, saddlers, blacksmiths, agriculturists, etc. This is real black history here, fam. We're getting some real history. All glory to Yah. The black Hebrew kings of Ghana had two titles: Kayamaga, Master of Gold, 2, and Ghana, War Chief. Now, this is very fascinating, family. This is very fascinating. Ghana was a title for a Hebrew king of Ghana. The black Hebrew kings of Ghana had two titles: Kayamaga, Master of Gold, and 2, and Ghana, which means War Chief, Hebrew highlighter. Professor Godby says that the 22 Hebrew kings reigned in Ghana before the Hijra in 622 AD, and 44 had reigned by 790. This is very fascinating. According to Professor Godby, he's saying that before AI Overview, the Zah dynasty, also known as the Dia dynasty, ruled the Sun God Kingdom from 690 to 1335 CE. According to Professor Godby, "22 Hebrew kings reigned in Ghana before the Hijra." So according to Professor Godby, he's saying that 22 Hebrew kings reigned in Ghana before the Hijra in 622 AD. And then we're going to get into the Eldad HaDani part we just read. We got into Eldad the Danite. But I'm bringing this out to say that when I do the math, Eldad HaDani, he lived in the 9th century, which is the 800s. During his lifetime, the Zah dynasty, the Hebrew Ghana dynasty, existed during the life of Eldad HaDani. I'm just doing the math. I'm just looking at different information and drawing a picture, drawing an illustration. I apologize for that, family. I don't know how long I was off screen. But yeah, let me just go ahead and just cover that briefly. I don't know when I cut it off. But basically, I just wanted to show that Professor Godby said that 22 Hebrew kings reigned in Ghana before the Hijra in 622. So what this is saying is that there were Hebrew kings that ruled in Ghana before the AI overview, where it says the Zah dynasty reigned from 690 to 1335. So according to Professor Gabi, there was Hebrew kings that ruled Ghana. 22 Hebrew kings reigned in Ghana before the Hijra in 622. Also, just briefly highlighting, sorry I went off screen. Where am I at? I lost where I was at. Okay. Also, just want to highlight this again. Bam. In the Jewish Ghanaian states were found kings, princes, governors, generals, secretaries, treasurers, revenue agents, judges, architects, engineers, doctors, historians, language interpreters, mathematicians, jewelry, sculptors, masons, carpenters, painters of art, goldsmiths, leather workers, potters, armorers, saddlers, blacksmiths, agriculturalists, etc. Also, the Jews imported in the western part of Africa a superior, right here, this cultural advancement by the Jews was not, well, here, I'm going to go ahead and highlight this part right here. The Jews imported unto the western part of Africa a superior material, educational, and moral culture soon after 300 AD, and the cultural advancement was not duplicated or exceeded until the advancement of the Mohammedan leader Mansa Kankan Musa in Mali in 1322 AD. All right, thank you, family. Now, let me go ahead and highlight this term right quick, right here. And Ghana, war chief. The Black Hebrew kings of Ghana had two titles. One, Kayamaga, Master Gold. Second, war chief. Ghana. Ghana means war chief. Now, let me go to Blue Letter Bible. Let's go to Blue Letter Bible. Check this out. The word Ghana is connected to Hebrew. It's a Shemitic word. It means to guard. It means to protect, which is what a war chief does. A war chief protects, guards. Also, that word for shield in Hebrew is magain. And the word magain has the word ganan into it. It's the root word. So let me show you on screen what I'm talking about, family. You know I don't like to speak over nobody. That's not how I get down over here. Let's go guard to guard. It's guard, protects. Let's go to lexicon. Garden. Let's go to garden. Hebrew word for garden. Check this out. right here, family. I typed in garden. The word for garden in Hebrew is gan. Also, gana, garden. Garden, orchard, garden. But check it. The root word of gan, which is garden. Garden. Well, before we get to the root word, check this out. Garden, enclosure, enclosed garden. Something that's enclosed. Something that is guarded. Gana, garden, orchard. From gan, right here, gan. Garden, enclosure, enclosed garden. Figurative of a bride, garden of plants, Garden of Eden. Enclosure, garden. You also have other cognates, other similar words. Arabic, Ethiopic, Aramaic, Phoenician. Also, it comes from the root word ganan. Ganan is the root, because most Hebrew words come from verbs, because Hebrew is all about that action. Ganan means to defend, cover, surround, defend, to defend. Protect, a primitive root, to hedge about, i.e., generally protects, defend. Cover, surround, defend. Why am I bringing this up? The word Ghana is a title for the king. It's the second title for a king. It's another title for a king. That means war chief. What does a war chief do? They protect. They defend, cover, surround. A Ghana, which is a term for a king in Ghana. They defend, they cover, they surround, they defend. The Black Hebrew kings of Ghana had two titles. One, Kayamaga, master of gold. Two, Ghana, war chief. The word Ghana is connected to the word Ganan. Ganan.
Strong's H, 1598. Ganan. Ganan.
There's a connection, family. And Ganan means to defend, cover, surround, defend, to defend. That is what a war chief does. They defend. And also that word, Ganan, also forms the word magain, which is shield. It comes from the same root, Ganan. Let me show you. Let's go to lexicon. Magain. Magain. From Ganan. Magain. From Ganan, which means shield, buckler. In other words, Ghana is a Hebrew word. Ghana, which is the title for a Hebrew Ghana king, is connected to the Hebrew word, which is the root, Ganan, which means to defend. They are both related. Etymologically, they are related etymologically in spelling, and they are related phonetically in sound. They are related in spelling and sound. Now, I know I'm stretching this lesson out, family. This information is empowering. This information changed my life. This information is one of the reasons why I'm wearing this kippah on my head. At this time, we're going to go to the last, well, almost second. We got two more sources, but I'm going to get through them real quick. I'm going to speed through them, family. Now, this is from Chavod.org. I enjoy the gems that is on Chavod.org. Now, I got to warn you guys, it is grain of salt. It's grain of salt. However, I do reference it from time to time, and I find the information, for the most part, to be valuable. Now, we're going to read from this second source. We're going to read Sembatian, Eldad HaDani. We're going to read Sembatian River, paragraph. Sembatian River, paragraph. Let me scroll up right here. Sembatian River. Let's go. Perhaps the best known legend connected to the lost tribes is that of the Sembatian River mentioned above. It is said that for 6 days, a week, the river rages, making it impossible to cross. And on the seventh day, the waters rest. In fact, when the Roman governor Tinius Rufus asked Rav Akiva, "How do you know your reckoning of the Sabbath is correct?" Rabbi Akiva replied, "The river Sembatian proves it. For during 6 days of the week, its waters flow turbulently, and on the Sabbath it subsides." Now that is the first read. It says, read the Sembatian River paragraph. Okay, yep. Let me go ahead and read the paragraph. I have my notes ready. Let's get to the rest right here. Here we go. Tales of this wondrous river has arisen again and again throughout subsequent Jewish history. Whenever there was an incident of purported contact with the 10 tribes. The earliest account recorded in post-Talmudic times was given by the fascinating and yet controversial Eldad HaDani. Hebrew highlighter. So I'm using sources that don't agree with me 100%, and that's all right. I like using sources that got value in it. I notice it says on Chabad.org, it says fascinating and yet controversial. Now, if you're wondering what this controversy is talking about, I encourage you to read more about Eldad HaDani from Jewish sources. I repeat, read more about Eldad HaDani from other Jewish sources. That way you can understand why they phrased it's controversial. He's controversial. Question, why is he controversial? Why do you think Eldad HaDani is controversial? I'm asking, why do you think, fam, Eldad HaDani is controversial? Why is he controversial? Now we're going to read the first paragraph of Eldad HaDani, which means the Danite. Ha means the, Dani means Danite. Eldad HaDani and the B'nai Moshe. B'nai means children or sons. B'nai Moshe. Moshe meaning Moses. Now we're going to read the first paragraph. Let's go. Eldad HaDani and the B'nai Moshe. In the late 9th century, in the late 800s, a man calling himself Eldad HaDani, Eldad from the tribe of Dan, appeared to the Jewish community of Karuan in present-day Tunisia. North Africa. He claims to have come from a land called Havilah, near the Sambation River, where the 4 tribes of Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher, the 4 tribes of Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher lived. He further claimed to have traveled extensively and met people from the tribes of Reuven, Yissaschar, Zebulun, Ephraim, Manasseh, and Shimon. Hebrew highlighter. Now, we're going to skip down. Feel free to read the rest of this article, fam. I'm going to scroll down off screen to this highlighted portion and get right to the point. Eldad's ancestors, who lived at the time in Havilah, heard a mighty noise that night, as if an earthquake had struck. And in the morning, they saw a multitude of people surrounded by a new river, throwing up stones and dirt. That river, the Sambation, still throws up stones and dirt, but no water, in a great tumult. If it would meet a mountain of iron, it would quickly destroy it. The waterless river continuously bubbles with stones and dirt 6 days a week. Only on the Shabbat does it rest. On Friday, a cloud settles on its surface, preventing anyone from approaching, although it has stopped boiling, and remains there until after the Sabbath. For that reason, it is called Sambation or Sambatino, from the word Sabbath. There are narrow portions of this river, no more than 60 cubits across, where they can stand on one side, while we stand on the other and call to each other. Nevertheless, these are absolutely imprisoned. They are absolutely imprisoned by this river. Nevertheless, they are absolutely imprisoned by this river, neither leaving nor receiving visitors. Now, do you think this is where the controversy comes in? Do you think this is why this article refers to Eldad HaDani as controversial? For he wrote about the Sambation River. In fact, he is the oldest reference in post-Talmudic times of the Sambation River. He gives the earliest recorded account in post-Talmudic times about the Sambation River. Now, from my opinion, I think it was strategery involved. If I'm going to quote George W. Bush, strategery. Fam, from my guess, it's easier to remember a story. It's easier to remember a story that is connected to heritage, identity, purpose, that has miracles, that has embellishments, that has exaggerations, that has supernatural activity. So I believe it was a device in order for the 10 tribes to remember who they are and who they served. So I don't have to believe in the Sambation River to be literal. The Sambation River, the telling of the Sambation River could be a device used in order to remember to keep the Shabbat day. Sambation comes from the word Shabbat. It comes from the word Shabbat. Sambation was a reminder for the 10 tribes who were scattered in Africa and also throughout the world, but in Africa, from the sources we read tonight, the Sambation was a device for the 10 tribes in Africa to remember to keep the Shabbat day. So you can label him as controversial, but I see that as wisdom. Wisdom means skill. That was a skill for us to remember to keep the sign of the Shabbat. The Shabbat day is a sign between Yah and his children. They see it as controversy. I see it as strategery. Or is this a controversy? The fact that Eldad HaDani said that Israelites lived in the interior of Africa. Was that the controversy? Was the controversy that Eldad HaDani said there was a Hebrew empire in the interior of Africa? Was this a controversy? Eldad HaDani said that Israelites lived in Western Sudan, aka West Africa. Let me know what you think. Eldad the Danite, Israelites are in Africa. Evidence examined. Now, we're going to read. Okay, actually, we read. Okay, so I read the whole. So yeah, I've covered everything that I like to cover tonight. I'd like to thank you, family, for joining us. So I'm going to go ahead and get my conclusion. Eldad the Danite, Eldad the Danite, Israelites are in Africa. Evidence examined. So I use Eldad's testimony as evidence that Israelites lived in Africa. I use his story, his testimony, his eyewitness account as proof. Israelites went deeper into the continent of Africa. I believe him. I believe his testimony. And let's just say I did not believe Eldad HaDani's testimony. Fam, we have a plethora of other sources that say Israelites lived in West Africa. Israelites lived in the interior of Africa. Israelites lived in Western Sudan. The Ghana Empire was partially ruled by Hebrew kings, the Zah dynasty. And this was a big part of Ghana's empire was Hebrew kings. The Hebrew kingdom of Ghana made up a big part of the overall Ghana empire. Eventually, Ghana converted into Islam. But either way, even if you do not believe Eldad HaDani, there's other sources that we can pull from. And tonight, that's what we did. We did not only use Eldad HaDani, we used other sources from scholars. We connected the dots. We connected language. We connected migrations, maps. We connected historical accounts, eyewitness accounts. And I draw the conclusion. Eldad HaDani, his testimony of Israelites living in Central Africa, in the Western Sudan, was and is credible. I agree with the Gaon, the Jewish rulers, that his story is credible. The Gaon, the rulers, the Jewish rulers, they said his story was credible. And family, I agree. Why? Because we saw other witnesses. You need two to three credible witnesses. And tonight we established just that. So that's my conclusion. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not telling you what to believe, but I put the information together. I connected using my judgment, using observation and examining the evidence. And I come to the conclusion that Eldad the Danite, his testimony is credible. All glory, all praises, all Cavode to our great King. I am thankful. I'm honored. I'm appreciative. I am thankful for the life, the story, and testimony of Eldad HaDani, Eldad the Danite. Thank you. Toda Rabbah. All glory to Yah. It's Black History Month. That's what it's been coined. The shortest month of the year, February, is Black History Month, but that's all right. I am thankful. I'm glad that, hey, I'm glad a month was given to us. That's dope. But you know what? If we're gonna be real, we're gonna be honest. Black History Month is not February. Every month is Black History. Every single month is Black History. Every single day is Black History. So I'm thankful for this time that I had the opportunity to present some information that you may have been familiar with. You may have not been familiar with, family. But I think it's important that we go beyond 1619. It has been thought that our history started in 1619. Our history started in slavery. Our history started with slavery. Our history did not start with slavery. Tonight, we revealed evidence that our history did not start with slavery. We learned about empires in West Africa, empires in the Western Sudan. Hebrews migrated from Northeast Africa and went deeper into the continent of Africa, not just specifically West Africa, throughout Africa, North Africa, East Africa, South Africa, West Africa, Central Africa, and also throughout the globe. We read about the Zah dynasty, the Hebrew kings of Ghana. Most of the kings were Hebrew of Ghana. They made up a big portion of the Ghana Empire. A big portion of the Ghana Empire were Hebrew kings. Remember, tonight we made the connection that Hebrew, the word Ganan, is connected to the word, which Ganan means to guard, is connected to the word Ghana, which means war chief. It's a title for the king. for the Hebrew Ghana king. So we learned tonight that we have greatness within our DNA. We have greatness, royalty within our makeup. So I wanted to just reveal some information that goes beyond slavery. It's important that we learn about our modern history. Absolutely. Let's not throw that out the window. Let's not throw shade on that. But let's not be afraid to go beyond what we are taught in the school books here in this country. There's so much information out there, family, that we have not been taught, but that's okay. That's part of our journey. It's part of our lives. I look at it as an opportunity to find out who we serve and who we are. And I say this out of love and out of respect for everybody. Family, I'm a lot of mixed. I'm light skinned, just in case you didn't know that. I don't think I have to remind you. But family, I'm thankful. I'm grateful to be a child of Yah and being an Israelite, knowing that we have Hebrew DNA, that we have Hebrew within our heritage, within our culture. It doesn't, if you ask me, it doesn't make us better than anybody. Knowing that you're in Hebrew doesn't make you better. It makes you accountable. Or at least it's supposed to make you accountable. It's a good place to start. For knowledge itself is beautiful as a starting point, not as an ending point. So let's just take this lesson and learn from the testimony of Eldad HaDani, who spoke about Israelites living throughout Africa. And we see that during his lifetime, the Zah dynasty were operating in Ghana. And we read that the Hebrews, they brought contribution to West Africa. They brought Torah culture. They brought advancement, which is compared to the advancement that Mansa Musa brought during the Ghana Empire. And we got to remember, the Hebrews that lived, they were skilled and educated. And family, that is within our makeup. That is within our genetic code. As we read, those mathematicians, architects, doctors, etc., masons, we can go on, etc., etc. Those skilled individuals, that information is passed down from generation to generation to generation to generation. So we are being given the notion that we come from low culture. We come from no culture. We're all butt naked. We couldn't speak. We spoke caveman-like language. That's the notion they want us to believe. When I'm saying they, I'm talking about the racist haters. I'm not saying every specific group of people. I don't get down like that. There's a specific group of haters, a specific group of people that hate Yah and hate people that say that we come from low culture. And if it wasn't for the transatlantic slave trade, we would not benefit from oppression. You got many people, you got many that believe that if it wasn't for slavery, we'd still be butt naked. You got people that really believe this stuff. But tonight, after this lesson tonight, hopefully this changed your mind, or at least had you reconsider. But family, I'm finna get out of here. I'm getting hungry. Thank you, family, for joining us tonight. Let's continue to love Yah with all of our heart, all of our soul, all of our might. Let's love our neighbor, regardless of their nationality, regardless of their phenotype, regardless of their ethnicity, whether they're Hebrew or not Hebrew, whatever. Let's love our neighbor as we love ourselves. I'd like to thank everybody in the chat. Thank you. I'd like to thank everybody listening online. Thank you. I'm Jaden Israel. Until next time, shalom, fam.